the AI Innovation Showcase. Well, the tagline says AI in everything, everything for AI, and AI for everyone. And who better than to break it down and help us understand how exactly is AI going to change all of our lives and what exactly is LTIMindtree doing for AI and with AI. Nachiket Deshpande right here to walk me through all the various innovations that they've been making in AI. Nachiket, welcome to ET Now. Thank you so much. Let's start off with your tagline first. AI for everything, everyone for AI, and AI for everything. Did I get it right? Almost. So break it down for us. What exactly is AI and how does LTIMindtree come into the entire piece?
See, our biggest challenge was there's so much noise around AI.
Yeah.
Right?
Everything is AI, right?
You look at every media, you read anything, you watch anything, it's all about AI. And in that sort of an environment where there's so much noise, we wanted to look at strategy that we can rally all the 86,000 people behind. It is simple enough to understand, but more importantly, it should be simple enough to adopt. And that's kind of what got us to this tagline. This tagline or the strategy of AI has three key pillars. The first pillar is about AI in everything, which means we would infuse AI in everything we do. Every service, how we deliver, what we deliver to our client, we will reimagine with AI at the center. And that's AI for everything for you. And that sort of spans across every single service, every single segment, every single client of ours. And think about it is that it's an inward-facing strategy because it's what we are doing to ourselves in order to change the capability, change the productivity, change the outcome.
And change our lives.
Change our lives and change how we do business. The second part is, as you take these solutions and put them in production within the enterprises, there is a lot of supplementary capabilities that the organizations have to build before these solutions can be put into production. And these are the capabilities that never had before. They don't know how to. So the entire value chain from GPU infrastructure to how do you get data organized for AI, how do you remove hallucination and biases, how do you govern it, how do you ensure that the security protocols are all set? All of these peripheral capabilities are needed before they can adopt these AI solutions. All these peripheral capabilities represents that everything for AI. So anything and everything you need in order to make AI real, that's those peripheral capabilities.
And that's what you're providing. And
that's what we are providing.
So let's take a look. What exactly have you been doing?
So we start here in the AI in everything journey. I'm talking about how are we changing our experiences for consumers that we deliver. So we work on the practice or the capability we call as interactive, which essentially is the agency work, marketing technology work, commerce work, direct-to-consumer channel transformation. So this is, the most consumer-facing capability.
Things that touch our lives pretty much every day.
Now, how do we get AI included in the services we deliver for those? So that's what you would see here on this. As an organization, today the apps that we build, the sites that we maintain, the brands that we manage touches about 1 billion lives. So these are many consumer names that you already know. These are airline apps, hotel apps, consumer goods app, brands that we all use. We manage all digital assets for them. So there are 1 billion lives that we already touch. How do we now bring the AI into those solutions in transforming what we already do for them? So the first part is around integrated commerce. Second part is around marketing transformation. And the third part is around how do we reimagine the service that people interact with.
What more can be done than what already is?
Correct.
Great.
So the first aspect, and I think maybe you guys will get it better, is about the whole creative agency aspect. Right? How do you disrupt the lead times that is taken for generating creatives that are needed? How do you shorten the time for new campaigns? How do you measure the effectiveness of campaign better than what you were able to? So solutions around those is what we cover in that. And what you would see is that in 23 as well as in 24, we were the only tech company that was actually rated in Ad Age, which actually ranks agencies. So the capabilities we are bringing together is actually now disrupting the services that we were not otherwise known for. Then the consumer trends in the CPG industries, right? You look at product innovators, you look at people, these customer service agent that actually engages with the end customers, the life cycle in terms of how consumers buy, the purchases that they do on the websites or whatever apps that they've engaged with, and the operations, which is the supply chain, the boring stuff behind, which actually required for you to do the
which is the critical part.
So all of those are now getting disrupted through various aspects of those. So if you see the things that we will talk about, I'll probably do it simpler. The three main trends that are disrupting all of those aspects. First, content. We all talked about in terms of how the content is created. We don't even know what's real anymore, so there is a lot that is happening on content.
It's almost like a person is talking back to you via the apps.
And actually that's probably, we don't have that booth, but we have a solution that exactly does that, what you talked about. The second piece, which I believe is actually starting to unlock more than ever, is hyper-personalization. There was a lot that was already happening on the personalization front on the consumer industry, but it was still very static. It was always about you belong to a demographic, and hence the personalization that you had typecasted to you in a certain way.
But now it's more push strategy.
Really individualized, because you have access to data and you have ability to genuinely change your product and service in that. And the last bit is when you are actually interacting with a product and a service, for the service to know who you are and change its behavior. That is not something that was very common. So for example, if I'm calling a typical thing, I'm calling a support because I want to cancel an order, or I didn't get my order, or what I got was broken, right? It's a typical, you will do a call center service or you do a chatbot. The problem is 50% of frustrations in explaining it to 3 people what's actually happening before you get to talk to someone who can solve. But if you had a AI solution that will do all of that for that customer service agent, so that when you call, they actually know what you're going through.
So a smarter chatbot.
Actually, even if it's a human, a nudges that will tell you that what's actually happening with you. It understands that there is an order that was not delivered on time or is delayed. Somebody had ordered this before, or you were already reported there was a fault in that order. You don't need to explain it again and again. So that reduces the friction and the frustration in the service that you face.
Perfect.
As we go along.
So shall we move to the other booth now?
Let's take to the other. Now from a relatively easy to relate world of consumers.
More consumer,
Let's get to more
industrial
space, right? So one of the things that what we have been also looking at is sort of AI that is real. So it's not just fuzzy things that are you can't touch and feel, you don't really know what's happening, but it's as much applicable in the real hard industrial world where you can touch and feel. And there's just so much of innovation that's already possible with that AI in those industries as well. So here we are looking at sort of 3 dimensions to that industrial AI. The first component is everything related to vision AI, which means you scan something to find a fault, you look at something to identify or classify some things, anything that you require a video or a photo vision AI to deduce. And the applications of that you will see here. One of the
I see a car door.
Talked about. So this is what we do for a car rental, where when you return a car, a photo or a video can tell you whether there was a damage, whether there was a bump, if there was a scratch. When you're taking a car,
so
also
you
know
see
what's already.
And
you don't have to explain. You don't have to. Nobody has to go around and note it on the clipboard and saying that here is a dent.
The dent is here. The paint is here. Okay.
So when you return the car, you know if there is a damage. When you take the car, you know where there is a damage. So it's a significant friction taken out of that process.
That's amazing.
You look at this in an insurance situation where there's claims when you're in an accident.
And these can speed up so much.
You just take a video, upload, your claims are processed.
Wow.
So significant reduction. This one is more industrial. For example, there are lots of large welding manufacturing solutions where we are we do that PSLV rocket casing.
Wow.
So it is several meters tall,
yeah.
huge, but requires very high precision because it is in a very high temperatures and these conditions.
Yeah.
So you have a bot like that crawls up that surface and identifies whether the welding was done properly or not. Will it withstand the temperature changes it is supposed to do or not? So, and it not only that it looks at, but it kind of QR code marks it on there, so that when you're looking at QA, you know where the fault is and where it needs to be repaired.
Fascinating.
For example.
Wow.
You know,
And
this is a smart
do?
helmet which basically does a lot of safety things around it.
Okay.
For example, if you are wearing the helmet on a construction site and you are walking in the zone that you're not supposed to walk into, the helmet will actually alert you that you're actually going into the zone you're not supposed to. Things of that nature which will actually saves lives, literally saves lives.
Do you see a lot of domestic demand for the products that you just showcased?
So we're doing it actually with international customers as well as domestic. So for example, this we're doing it with a global car rental. Because that's in India that probably business is not as big as it is in the US.
Exactly.
So they do, the car rental company we work for is in a busy airport like a Dallas or a New York. They do like 5,000 cars a day.
Yeah.
So for them this is real beneficial.
Yeah.
It's not something that they can do manually. This is in India as well as many other, I would say, emerging geographies where there's a lot of construction still happening. And I think the US is always.
Why is the hammer here?
This is actually if you want to try that
it's
out.
For the car?
If you want to try it out, I would.
Raise room. No, some other time.
And the last part that we've talked about is little complicated, but it's around simulating the entire assembly line in any industry. So this is a demo kit that we have looked at with a compressor. It creates a digital twin sensing all the parameters of that assembly line, or even in a working condition where this particular compressor is deployed.
So what kind of industries would you use this?
This will actually be working in any industries which have a complicated assembly lines, or any areas where you are deploying this machinery. Even the compressors, for example, even in a building, for an HVAC system, you will have a compressor deployed. So this will work in every production environment for all of these facilities, and it is able to do end-to-end optimization with enterprise systems data as well as the manufacturing sensor data that comes from this.
And now we move to a drone.
And this is actually one of the very interesting area where we normally do not associate AI with. So this we are doing it in the area of geospatial. So geospatial basically is a technology that can scan three-dimensional surfaces. For example, it can scan a ground to know what's beneath the soil. It can tell you the soil type, it can tell you the moisture, it can tell you the conditioning of that soil.
So largely agricultural use.
It actually one of the interesting use for this is also in infrastructure projects.
Yeah, of course.
For example, if there are lots of these water projects where you are laying 5,000 kilometers of pipeline.
Or reclaiming the sea.
And when you're doing that, you don't know how best to lay the pipe. Where the ground has the condition where it can take the weight when you are putting the pipe. You also need to know sometimes when you're looking at it from a vegetation, you need to find out how can you lay pipe with cutting least amount of trees. What's the way?
So this is just going to fly aerial and calculate everything.
So
and
we
read
do
everything?
this across from a very small drone that does internal to a slightly bigger drone like this which does outside, to a lidar equipment attached on a helicopter which does for acres of land.
Wow.
And all of this is brought in together. And what we do is, this is what is called, it's like a maps language. This data cannot be represented in a conventional way. So you have to represent this data with multiple coordinates. So this is what we have built as solution, where it's a map database that brings all of these things together. So it tells you the entire project they're in, the 3D model of realistic excavation site. Then when we were looking at a statue building, it actually can give you the structural benefit. For metro rail, it tells you what's the best way to run a metro.
Yeah.
There's so many use cases that you can actually
Exactly.
think about with this data analytics.
Great. So headed in the right direction via AI.
And the idea is we wanted to look at AI, which is pragmatic approach, and it's real, rather than everybody chasing a new LLM or building another solution, which, there are enough startups around the world and enough capital dollars that are doing that. We feel our role is to use that technology to solve a real world problem. And that's what that AI in everything and everything for AI and AI for everyone is all about.
Okay, touching lives. Thank you so much for the AI walkabout. We're definitely more learned after this about how many ways AI can actually change our lives.